Welcome, everybody. My name is Caroline Colas. I'm the Senior Director of Health and Wellness at the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan. And today it is my pleasure to bring to you on our Lunch and Learn call, Debbie Toomey. We are going to be talking about finding peace in micro moments during COVID-19. The coronavirus pandemic sometimes gets us down. Learn how to incorporate micro moments of mindfulness-based practices in the midst of your busy day during the pandemic. Discover ways to access your inner sanctuary for peace and self-control during uncertain and unsettling times. In this session, Debbie will share game-changing mindfulness-based skills to help us enhance our health and our well-being. I welcome to the call Debbie Toomey. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, let me see if I can spotlight you while we talk a bit. So how do you know the Whole Being Institute?
Before it was Whole Being Institute, it was Certificate of in Positive Psychology. So I was in the very first cohort, known as CIPP1.
I love that you have like a little name, an acronym for the group.
Yes. So that was 2012, I believe.
And what drew you to positive psychology as a nurse, you know?
It was around the time as a nurse when I was one of the times when I was really feeling burnt out. And to me, burnt out is can't wait to leave the profession. Can't wait to find ways to make me feel happy. Can't wait to learn something that can help me feel more relaxed. So I am an avid learner. I love learning complementary, alternative, any type of practices or modalities that can help reduce my stress. And so one day I have gone to Kripalu, and one day I got the catalog, and looked at the new offering by Tal Ben Shahar, and it had to do with happiness and how you could learn how to be happy and how happiness is a skill. I said, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know it was a skill or a science. So I just kind of put it aside, and it, for some reason, this catalog just kept talking to me. I put it aside, and it just kept saying, I'm here. Don't forget about me. And so finally I set the intention that, you know what, if I'm meant to take this course, because you have to dedicate a big chunk of your life towards it because of, learning about the science and group meetings and the immersions and also the financial investment. I said, if I'm meant to do this, I need a sign, a definite sign from the universe. And so I got my sign. I started my company back then. It was still at the little baby stage. And I got this nice, wonderful collaboration with a visiting nurse company. They wanted me to do lunch and learn and teach stress management programs. And that was basically what I needed to fund the program. And so there I said, okay, I'm there, you got me. I'm going to be studying about happiness. So I want to tell you that program has been a life-changing program because it's opened up so many wonderful practices that have really solidified the stress reduction programs that I offer, and also the way I practice my life, how to become a better version of myself, and how to relate to other people, and how to manage my stress, how to become happier. So
beautiful.
yeah.
And we also know that nurses are notorious for being stressed and burnt out, and I would think especially now. So I think it's amazing that you are in that profession, and we get to hear a little bit about what it's like right now in the front lines, and how positive psychology and also some of these practices that you're going to teach us are helping those in the medical field. I know that many of us are really, all of us are concerned about that. Some of us have people that we love and care about that are on the front lines, but it's really concerning. So it's great to know that that was so helpful for you, and that you know, the lay person can have that, and a medical professional can also find these skills useful.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
Yes.
how do you want to begin? Would you want to like just give us some context about your work? And I know you have some slides. Should we just start there?
Let me just share a little bit about my work. I started my company to basically offer practical techniques for, again, stress reduction to different types of professionals. It could be, and also different population groups, the elderlies, children, parents. And the message was the same. And again, it wasn't until I studied positive psychology and got the training that it helped me really put a solid framework on these practices. What emerged is for me to really laser focus my attention on healthcare providers. And it wasn't until last year that I really wanted to take care of the nurses. And in doing the research, I discovered that, and this is from the American Nurses Association. I'm not sure how many nurses there are on this call, but they're saying from a survey that they did most recently that nurses are actually unhealthy compared to the average American. Nurses are unhealthy compared to the average American.
Wow.
And that's because of working long hours, rotations, the chronic stress, comfort eating maybe, comfort drinking maybe, all these different types of measures. And also as caregivers, it's innate in us to take care of others, and also as a profession, that's what we got trained to do, and that's what we do so well, but we forget ourselves. And so we kind of, we take care of ourselves with a little bit of a Band-Aid, if I may say, right? With maybe, for me, I love going on Amazon and maybe buying a $5 or $15 deal, or sometimes I like to go out to eat, or to, all these different things to kind of help kind of subdue a little bit of that stress, but not really take care of it. Again, positive psychology allowed me to really lean into the stress and be able to really put words into it and take care of it. So last year I started doing and offering a self-care and resiliency training for nurses. And lo and behold, this year with COVID, it's just, I feel like it's even more needed. The stress level from pre-COVID, it was, I'd say maybe this high, but now it's like through the roof, up to the moon. And this is not just for nurses, this is for everybody working in the front lines, and not just in healthcare. It could be somebody in the grocery store, or doing a delivery or mail. The level of stress out there is so high. And with that, I'm going to share my screen.
I was wondering if we could just do a little sort of primer on stress in general and why it is so, I think a lot of people, I mean, we hear about it, why it's not a good thing and why it's so hard on our system, but there's some real factors about stress, even from genetics point of view, that it can trigger different responses in our body. Do you want to just sort of talk a little bit about the stress cycle, or just give us a little overview on stress and why you find it so unhealthy, and why it sets us up for distress?
Of course. We have, stress is a part of life, basically. It's change. It helps us grow. It helps us become more resilient. The stress, for example, the stress of getting up this morning, knowing that there are things to do. I was able to, beat that stress because I know that I'm able to share my message out there. Knowing that I'm still a shy person, I'm still trying to get used to being in the camera, even though I'm a professional speaker, but that's the stress, because I signed up for the fact that my service is to share health and wellness, the message to a global community. And because that is my goal, the stress for me is showing up and speaking. So there are good stress that helps us become a better version of ourselves. And there are stress also that can be, depending on how we perceive it, can be threatening, or it could be really not just threatening, it could be very, 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 very threatening, life-threatening. And so it depends on the person, depends on how they view that particular interaction, that particular event? Is it something that's going to help them rise above, or is it something that's going to really challenge them to a point that they're going to say, it's not for me, I can't do it? So stress, it also depends on your history of trauma as well. I work in the trauma department, so there are different types of trauma out there. There's generational, biological, cultural, social, so there's a lot of different traumas. And so it depends on the baggage that the person carries with them, and also that they were born with, and how they then perceive that stress. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that really helps. And then we have what happens, of course, is the body's physiological reaction, right? We have
Yes.
cortisol that pumps through the brain, the system. We have an elevated instead of a parasympathetic response, a sympathetic response. And that prevents us from really resting, right?
Yeah.
And I would think that one of the challenges for nurses too, and just all of us in co-ed right now, we don't know, we kind of like, when did it really begin and when is it really ending and what do we really know? That sort of uncertainty can lead us into being in our body in a sympathetic sort of stress response versus going into that parasympathetic response, right? So that we can rest and digest and even heal.
Exactly. Yeah. So the fight and flight response that you're talking about is where the sympathetic nervous system kicks in to make sure that we're safe. That is meant to just be a phase that we're supposed to be in an acute phase to really save our life. And so riding through the waves of COVID, not knowing what to do, still not knowing how to take care of this, not knowing how long this will be, not knowing what the proper treatments are, not knowing if you got it recently, by going to the grocery store. There's so many uncertainties that we feel like we have to be hyper alert in a way, hyper vigilant. So that takes a lot of energy. And yes, it does eventually it'll eventually impact our physiological system, our body, the hormones, the cortisol that's being released, that's not supposed to be released all the time. So there'll be times where people will start developing difficulty sleeping because it's going to start impacting their body. They might start getting reflux or GI problems or maybe headaches. It depends on how they take in the stress. They might start acting out behaviorally, like taking risky behaviors or not wanting to wear the proper PPEs. They could be having mental emotional issues. They could be crying a lot, or maybe withdrawn, or maybe angry, or just being distracted all the time. It depends on the person. And unfortunately, with the climate that we're living in, with the COVID climate, it is really, we're living in uncertain times. And as a person who studied positive psychology, the word "and" is so important because that's where we allow ourselves to open up to the goodness that's happening all around us, right? So if we can embrace what is going on, what is so, and also noticing what is good that's happening, we can be in a place where we can say, okay, that is life. Life is changing. We've lived through many other things, 9/11, the 9/11, SARS, the, H1N1, earthquakes, a lot of devastation. Human beings, we are so resilient. We have to honor that. And we also have to find ways to navigate through these uncertain times. And that's why I wanted to, and I'm excited to be able to share with you micro moments of, accessing your inner sanctuary through these times. So that way you're able to take that pause and just reclaim who you are and just notice what is going on, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Beautiful. And it sort of talks about like why there is the need for self-care. I didn't realize that there were so many different ways, even acting out and not wearing masks as a stress response, right? That people can be responding in these ways. It gives me a little bit more compassion, actually, that might be someone's stress response versus me thinking, oh, they're being irresponsible. And I know there might be some others on the call that are thinking that way. It just gives me a little bit more insight into that. And the importance of self-care, right? Which is what you're going to talk about today. And when we were warming up, we were talking about how vital self-care is at this time to help us go back into that parasympathetic nervous system and also manage these stressful times.
Right, right. So we can basically, as in the healthcare field, we call the PPE, the personal protective equipment, the gowns, the gloves, the goggles that we wear to protect ourselves from the virus. We can look at the micro moments of exercises as your own internal PPE that you should really take care of to put on and make sure that you really honor it so that when you are out there, you are strong inside and out. So, honestly, the more we can practice these little doses of mindfulness throughout the day, mindfulness-based exercises throughout the day, the more you'll be able to, and I can speak for myself at least, the more I'm able to feel like, okay, tomorrow is going to be another day. And, hopefully they'll find other sources to, really manage what's going on. Hopefully as we open up to the new life, going back to the stores, grocery stores, the malls, that, better things will emerge from this. So it helps us become more, I don't know, realistic and still embrace what's going on.
Great. I was just writing in the chat, what are some of the practices that people currently, before you even reveal some of them, like what are some of the mindfulness practices you are engaging in now to help you stay resilient? Let me see if I got that. I don't think I spelled resilient right. Maybe I did. Someone can correct me if I did. So everyone, if you wanted to just write into the chat, what are some of the things that you're doing now that drop-in meditation with JCC? Nancy, that's great. And then someone also asked, can watching torture on television cause trauma? I would say yes, but you're the nurse. You can answer that one.
That's a good question. That's a good question. You know what? It depends on the person. It depends if it's a child and the child does not know any difference between what's real and also the television, I would say yes. But some people find that entertaining, so for me, it scares me.
Yeah.
It just scares me. That's not entertaining to me.
So some people are saying I take daily yoga, ballet, modern jazz classes. Wow. Morning meditation, walks, lunch and learn, Zooming with friends and family, self-compassion meditation and loving kindness meditation. I started taking walks outside, meditation, breath work, and yoga practice. I ride a bike. Someone said this is great. These are great. So we have some things that we think of already. And now, Debbie, you're going to share some other things that we can do too.
Well, everything that people have shared has been great. I mean, it basically touches upon what I'm going to be sharing. So, if you could lend me a beginner's mind, beginner's ears per se, and a mindfulness approach to what I'm about to share, and perhaps, learn or figure out how you can kind of infuse my version into your day, I would really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So,
and we also have the SPIRE, right? That there's these practices that can be in each of the areas, because sometimes I find that I have practices in one area more so than in the other. And Megan talked about that on Monday, how, she had someone she was working with that was really, or maybe it was Kathy yesterday, really working in the physical. And she realized that she had to kind of tone that down a little bit so that the other areas she could have different practices in relationships and in emotion. So let's get to it. It's great.
All right. So here we are with, I was just reading the news here a few days ago, and how the UN is really concerned about mental health crisis. And some people feel that the mental health crisis is going to be one of the waves that's going to be, that we are going to have to try to manage. And so, it just struck me as something so important here that they listed a group of people who are most at risk from the having to live through this time of COVID. And it's interesting to me that they listed frontline healthcare workers first, and then the elderly, and then the adolescents, the young people, those with pre-existing mental health conditions. So basically, that's everybody. That's everybody. And so for them to also include healthcare workers is a big step in the right direction, because mental health, stress, burnout, compassionate fatigue, moral distress, that's been well researched. And there's been so much research that has proven and showed that it's important for healthcare providers to start learning ways to reduce their stress, to prevent burnout. And so it's been a big elephant in the room. It's something that they should do, but really not doing a lot of. So now they're really, really concerned about that, because of the trauma, all these different types of trauma that the healthcare providers, healthcare workers are facing, whether it's personal or them professionally, and trying to work with less, or fearing that because a lot of healthcare professionals out there have to kind of relearn new skills. They had to be deployed to different areas because, for example, a neurosurgeon, their cases are going to be down much lower than that of the emergency room doctors or the doctors who work with pulmonary surgery or the intensive care doctors. So a lot of the doctors had to kind of redeploy, and same thing with the nurses as well. They had a lot of cross training happening. So working in different fields, learning new things, working in different locations, working with less, not knowing how long this will be. Some people, some healthcare workers choose not to go home because of working in the front lines so much that they're afraid of bringing the virus back at home. So there's a lot that the healthcare providers are going through right now, and it's hard to get off that roller coaster. It's hard to really get to a point where you feel like, oh, I can rest now, because there's that, again, that level of hypervigilance, that continuous partial attention, that you feel like you have to be on the know in case you get a phone call to come in to cover somebody, or in case you have to work a little extra because we're down staff, or in case all these in case. So living in that mode is so exhausting, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So for the United Nations to add the frontline workers to this list is just I'm grateful for that, but it's also something that should have been done a while back. But again, just grateful that it's there. So now I'd like to share with you, so that is the problem. So knowing what this situation, this moment in time, what it's doing to you, even though if you're not a healthcare provider, it's really important to know. And I tell this to my kids. I have 3 boys, and I tell them right from the beginning, I said to them, look at how you are dealing with stress that's going to be happening. Watch the people around you, watch how they manage their stress. Learn from yourself how you are during the situation, and learn from others as well, how they're managing it, because everybody is going to be different. And so just from the awareness, the mindful awareness of how we hold ourselves when we are under stress, or when we're starting to get more stressed, is so important, because once we notice it, hopefully in that gap, mindful space, we're able to make choices, whether to withdraw, move away from the situation. If it's somebody's watching the news, if I find myself starting to get triggered, I move away from it, knowing that I'll learn about the gist of the news after the show is done. Or, if you see somebody get escalating because, people who are writing, or people who are being extra careless out there in the community, just knowing how that is, the stress is affecting them is very important as well. So going to the next slide, and this is the
Debbie, can I
micro.
ask you a question about that? I think
Sure.
driving home several points here are really important. One is that we each have our own neurobiology, right? And that part of our, maybe someone once said to me, genius is knowing your own neurobiology, how you respond. And that's what I hear you saying, is that, and even with your kids, I think that's really interesting that you're saying to them, listen to yourself, watch yourself, track yourself. How does your system, right? How do you respond in these situations? And then you said something else really interesting too. And then that is move towards or move away from these situations. And that's really in tandem with our brain science that we know. It's like, notice what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're feeling, and then that mindfulness practice, see if you can pause and then make some choices. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're essentially saying?
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely.
Great.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And please, once I start talking, I can just keep talking and talking. Thank you so much for, thank you so much for asking.
Right. I just wanted to summarize that because I wanted to make sure that we really hit that point. We've had so many lunch and learns, and we're really starting to crystallize that, wait a second, how do we individualize these things? And we're really honoring that every single person, every single one of us is unique, whether it's our character strength profile or whether it's, as you're talking about, how we respond to stress. Yesterday, Kathy talked about it, like even how people, what they view, and you just reinforced it, trauma, like watching television. For one person, it could be traumatic. For another person, it could be entertainment. This is really an important part of our Lunch and Learn series as people, as we think about going outside, as we think about you said in Boston is what, in stage 1?
Yes.
Right now. So as we think about re-entering, it's going to be individual. All of us are going to have an individual response to what triggers us and what we feel comfortable about that. And I know that you're going to reinforce that, paying attention and listening to that. There are going to be some guidelines out there, but then there's going to be inside of us, what do we feel we're ready for? What do we feel like we need to fortify ourselves and be strong in order to do, to go back outside and do some of these things?
Yes, yes, yes. Just to add on to what you were saying, it'll be very interesting. And I was thinking about this yesterday when I was walking with my mother. My parents live nearby, so I try to make it a point to go there every day. And we've been, because they live so close, we've been together. I go into their house, that back and forth. So I like to walk with my mother, and I would see little kids with their parents with a mask on. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder, once this whole crisis blows over, I wonder how comfortable these kids will be not wearing their mask. Is it something that they will grow up thinking that that's something that they have to wear? And same thing with other people. Is it something that people are going to use or continue using even after this crisis has disappeared? So it'll be very interesting how people embrace the new way of living. That's all.
And as a nurse, I know there are other cultures that do that. Is that something you would recommend? Do you think that's wise for us to actually do that when we're, let's say, not feeling well, or when we're getting over something? Just in general, I know other cultures do that. And our culture seems to look at that as, oh, you're sick, I need to stay away from you. But other cultures, it's like, oh, let me protect you by wearing a mask. If I wear a mask, then I can be with you. So it's a different message in our culture.
Yeah, it's so interesting for you to say that, because at the beginning of COVID, there's in my area, there's a lot of Asian and Chinese population. And so even the last 2 or 3 years, I would see some of them wearing a mask. And I thought it was just because they had a cold, but even throughout the year, some of them would continue wearing the mask. And then with COVID virus here, people thinking it came from China, and that became like almost like questioning, why are they wearing a mask, and why, what is that all about? Are they being, I don't know, extra careful, or what's that all about? But it quickly changed from them, people judging other people who are wearing masks, to I need to wear masks too because I don't want to catch it. So they quickly shifted their mindset to I need a mask too, and that created a wave of people sewing masks for other people, which actually is a beautiful gesture if you think about it. Other people really who feel like they can't, they're not frontline workers. They have a lot of fabric at home, they're stressed, they want to help out. How can they do it? So it's a wonderful outlet for people to use their strengths and kindness to create these masks, make these masks for people who are needing it. So it's a nice synergy that happened there. But as far as that mask mentality, it shifted from judgment to, it's like, I need to wear it. And now different stores, different companies are selling these really fancy masks. If you go on YouTube, there's so many different ways to make masks. You can sew it. You could use different undergarments to wear a mask. It's great. It's great that they're trying to really be on top of their health and protecting others as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I agree. I even saw on Instagram, I saw someone take like a little bootie, a little sock, and cut it so in a way that they could just make a mask out of it. It was amazing. The creativity has been incredible.
It's really incredible. And also, I don't know if it's just me being creative or just being extra careful, being a nurse. I don't know what it is. Then I think to myself, people are used to wearing masks now. The weather in New England is spring with 60 degrees out. That's great. What happens when it's 98 degrees out and it's humid and it's hot and you're barely wearing anything because it's so hot? It'll be interesting to see how many people will wear their mask, because it's going to be very uncomfortable.
Yeah, Anita said, initially I was making a mask out of paper towels as instructed online, then fabric masks arrived. And Jennifer asked the question, what do you recommend we do if the person we are quarantined with isn't taking as many precautions as we are? And I think that that's a reality. I know that, for example, my sisters and I sort of agree. We're a little bit more cautious and careful about how we are responding, and other friends, other couples aren't as cautious. So what do we do if somebody that we're living with doesn't think that we have to be as cautious, doesn't think we have to wash our hands as much, doesn't think we have to, for example, do those kind of things? Any suggestions?
It's really tricky. It's really hard, and it can be a power struggle too. I have a husband and he works remotely part of the time. Other times he goes to work, and he is my go-to guy to go to the grocery store. He does his best, but again, being a nurse, I've been trained to wash my hands properly, the sterile technique, and all these different things. I know he's washing his hands, but how well? Is it meeting up to my standard? So, so trying to just think about the basics. Have you been with this person for a while? Have you been with this person for at least a month now? Have you been fine? Has that person been fine? Where does this person typically go? Is it a place where it's a lot of high traffic area, or does this person do their best to really minimize their exposure, go to the grocery store early or very late, or really wash their hands really well? So we can't live in fear, because it's just not, it's not a comfortable way of living. But really just asking yourself, okay, if I've been living with this person for at least 2 months now, he's been fine or she's been fine and I've been fine. So whatever that person's doing must be okay. But still yourself, do what you need to do to make yourself feel good, healthy, and also your environment. If you live with this person, I would just clean up extra, just doorknobs, everything that you can think of to make sure that you're staying on top of the environment that you both are living in.
Yeah, I think what you're saying makes absolute sense. It's like sort of taking both the the relationship into consideration, and then taking personal responsibility, and then negotiating that. And that can be tricky. It really can. And it sounds like, I know a really good friend of mine is a nurse also, and her husband is an essential worker, so he's working out there. He's doing plumbing and electric work and stuff like that. And when he comes home, she meets him at the door. Right? It's like, strip, do this, that's her insistence, right? And you're washing the hands. And part of that is because they have a baby too.
Yeah.
So, but he's in other people's homes, and he's, doing all that kind of stuff. So that's why she's so vigilant about that.
Yes.
But it does make sense. And then I wanted to go through your mindful micro moments thing, and then ask a few questions about, I know some people out there are thinking about, well, what about traveling? And what about, there was a wedding in my family, and can I safely go to that at, if it's in August or June, and how to make those decisions, and how will we know how to make those decisions? And you may or may not have answers to that, but I know a lot of people are thinking about summertime, right? For some people, camps have been closed. Like, what are we going to do as we come back together and as we go outside in the parks and stuff like that? So I really want to hear what you have to say about that. But first, let's go through your mindful micro moments.
Okay. So I just created this one sheet reminder. I call it my terrible, not terrible, but terrible reminder that I like to kind of have around, just to remind me sometimes. Just because I teach and I practice mindfulness, it doesn't mean that I'm safe from experiencing any stress or any type of tragedy in my life, certainly not. But these reminders help me to practice what I preach, and to remind me that there's something I could do at that moment to help me just get back into my body and to appreciate what's going on. So in the different types of quadrants here are just mindfulness-based type reminders for all of us to do if we find ourselves getting caught up in that whirlwind of trauma or drama or stress or burnout. So looking for good things, that's a basic gratitude practice, looking for the good, 3 good things, or I like to say what went well. That's another practice that is in alignment with looking for good things. Just a little segment on the what went well. It's a nice question to ask, and I learned this from positive psychology with Tal Ben-Shahar. And when you ask people what went well, it forces the person to share with you what did go well, because especially it's effective. And it's been very interesting. I've shared this with so many participants in my workshops, and when they see me the following year, they'd say, oh, what went well? What went well? This is one of the ones that they remember, because it is such a simple practice, a question that you can ask of a child, your husband, somebody you work with, somebody who loves to share the negative. There are people out there who just, once you say, how are you, they're ready to tell you what went wrong with them. The complaints just kind of, whew. But if you were to ask this question to that person, you could literally almost hear the brake go off in their mind. What did go well? Because they're so conditioned to look for and to mind what is bad, the negative bias that we have, right? We hold on to the negative. This question, what went well, will encourage them to think about what did go well, whether it's big or small. Maybe somebody bought them a cup of coffee, or maybe they found a penny on the ground, so it really trains the brain to look for the good.
So I've just put that in the chat right now, and everybody, what went well today? What's gone well today so far? And let's see if we actually experience what Debbie's talking about, where we have to kind of search for a moment and say, wait a second, what did go well today?
Yeah.
And yes, you will get this handout, and what you're grateful for too at the end of the week when we send these things out. And I'm just searching. So Debbie, how about for you? What has gone well for you today so far?
Oh my gosh. I need to share with you first. Gratitude is my top strength. So at the moment my eyes open up, I am grateful. I'm grateful for the man who's laying in bed next to me. I'm grateful for my children. I'm grateful for the sun that's out. Grateful for so many different things. Right now, I'm grateful to be here with all of you to share what I am grateful for, all these different interventions that we could infuse in our day to help us be able to find some sense into what's going on in our lives.
What a great top strength to have as a nurse.
Yes.
Wow. I
Yeah.
would think that would be amazing. And for me, I was my husband set my alarm for me. I didn't sleep as well as I would have liked last night. I had some things I was a little bit concerned about. I got a call from a friend who was a little upset. So right before I went to bed, and I said, honey, I think I'm going to sleep in. Would you set my alarm for me? And he did. And I just felt so grateful that he did that. And then he went on, for his exercise, his morning exercise, and woke me up later. So let's see, heard a great lecture on Zoom this morning on religious spiritual topic. Linda Ralston, beautiful. A friend joined this session from Laura Siegel, morning meditation, breakfast with my mate. I love that. That's great. So this is beautiful, and even by talking about it, I can feel an uplift that Barbara Fredrickson talks about, right? That
Yes.
that broaden and build. When I have to focus on that, and I had to search. I mean, it's only not quite 1 o'clock, but yeah, there's still opportunities to look for the good.
Yes.
Look for what's working.
Yes. Yes. Yes, definitely. There's always a way to look for the good, especially, during times that are the trying times. John Kabat-Zinn would say there's more good that's happening to you when you notice or remember that you're breathing. More good than what's wrong. So
Yeah.
that's good, so as long as we're breathing, we're doing good. Okay, so the next one is smile. Smile, so this is a nice body-mind practice. We all smile, but it's our brain. When our body starts smiling, then it tricks the brain to think that this body who is smiling is happy. So I'd say it's a body-mind technique instead of a mind-body technique. So smiling is a wonderful practice. It makes us look younger. And when I was studying with Sonia Choquette many years ago, she would say that smiling is her favorite yoga exercise.
I love that.
Yes, yes. So smiling is good. And also the next one is being kind to yourself, remembering to take good care of yourself. You are the most important person in your life. Without you, people that you love and care about will not have you to appreciate and to love. So taking moments of time to really be kind to yourself. That could be just going for a walk, or turning everything off and listening to music, or dancing in your kitchen, or singing your favorite 80s song. I'm an 80s girl, so I'm going to say 80s song. So whatever it is that can offer yourself kindness. Could be a nice cup of tea, something small and doable.
And I noticed, like today, I mentioned that I didn't sleep that well last night. So I was like, oh, I have to be extra kind today. Right? When we're under stress, I think it's actually more important to have that self-care, to say, okay, note to myself, rather than, oh, why things aren't, I'm not going to be as fast today necessarily, right? Because I don't have the same resources that I usually have. So I was like, okay, Caroline, remember, you've got to be extra kind to yourself today because you didn't get the sleep that you needed, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Love it. Yes, that's so true. The next one is waving to somebody. During this time of social distancing, I really appreciate it. And I don't know if it's just me, maybe because I'm initiating it, but I really look at the people. I'm wearing my mask, or people wearing their masks are walking by me. We purposely make an eye connection, and I wave, and they wave back. And you can see, even though they're wearing a mask, that there's a smile underneath that mask. Okay, so this intention of micro moments of connection with another human being is so important because of the social distancing. It just makes us appreciate more that human to human, again, connection. So it's really great.
Someone asked, Linda asked, smiling comes naturally, but how do you will it? And that's an important thing. They've actually done research, right? When we lift our mouths and even crinkle at the corners of our eyes, that sends a physiological response
Yes.
from our body to our brain that, oh, we're smiling. So we don't want happyology, but we do want to know that sometimes we just have a resting face because of the negativity bias that's a little bit more dour.
Yes, yes. I'm actually a laughter yoga leader. I lead laughter yoga sessions. So the first time that I would lead a session, people would come with their yoga outfit, their yoga mats, and I'm wearing regular clothes, no yoga mats. And for me to share with them what laughter yoga is basically it's using deep hearty laughter with laughter exercises. And these could be people who were told to go to the session and not know what to expect. These could be people who may not want to smile or feel like this is silly. But eventually, because of the conditional laughter, you have to kind of laugh because everybody's laughing, it becomes unconditional laughter when you see other people doing it. It's really, really, it's contagious. Smiling is contagious. Same thing with laughter. So if you have a hard time finding that smile, first of all, offer yourself self-compassion. Allow yourself to be okay with not smiling for the day. That's fine. You don't have to smile all the time. Feel the feelings. And if you do want to smile, I suggest going on YouTube, looking up some laughter yoga exercises because it's fun. It's a nice way to allow yourself a positive release of laughter.
I would love to take a laughter yoga class with you. I think that would be great.
Oh, I love it. I love laughter yoga.
We'll have to have her back, don't you think, everybody?
Oh my gosh, I would love that.
That would be fun.
Oh, God.
And then you say the next one is notice your tension. Tell us about that.
Noticing your tension. So this is a mindfulness practice where you just notice how your body is. It's mindfully scanning your body, getting to know how your body is holding on to stress and how stress is impacting your body. Is it because, are you noticing that you keep rubbing your head, or are you noticing you're alternating Motrin with Tylenol because you've been getting migraines lately, or because your knees are hurting, or your neck and shoulders are hurting? You know, noticing the indicators that your body is giving you because of tension that you're holding onto is so important, because then you're able to ask yourself, what do you need? Self-compassion practice. What comfort? What do you need to comfort yourself at that moment? Is it, do you need to grab a warm pack and be able to put it on your shoulders? Do you need to ask your mate to give you a nice rub, back rub? Do you need a hot shower or a bath? So asking yourself, what's going on with the body? How's it feeling? Noticing the tension is a way for you to then take care of yourself.
And it also switches us from that sympathetic to the parasympathetic. I mean, Christian Neff's work talks about, hugging or putting our hands on the heart, but that doesn't necessarily work for everyone. And so these self-compassion or releasing tension can be really unique to everybody. For some people, it can be, looking at the pictures of the ocean. Other people, as you said, it can be in the bathtub. Are there other ways to move from the parasympathetic response to the sympathetic response? Or from sympathetic to the parasympathetic, sorry.
Right. Yeah, so there's a lot of different, it depends on the person. Yeah, it might be, you have dogs. It could be having your dogs, lay by your side and you petting your dog. Or it could be going outside. It could be painting. Art is so beautiful. It's a nice expressive way of putting down your feelings into form, because sometimes there's just no words, especially during these difficult times. We experience such a roller coaster of emotions. It's hard to put into words exactly what's bothering us. So when we can express ourselves through art, it can be so magical, because you're putting down how you're feeling into paper. You're allowing it to be released somehow. And so you're not holding on to that particular upset or tension. So art is good, music, walking, physical exercises, yoga, so many different things that we could do. We just have to remember what it is that we love to do, what comforts us, and start doing it right away.
And actually what you're talking about is kind of a release from the tension, right? And you're on the lower quadrant when you say laugh. We talked about laughter yoga, and even crying. And
Yeah.
so talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, again, talking with other nurses, with the stress that they have, they would say, you know what, with all the stress that's going on, I either have to laugh or I cry. And I say, go for it. Whatever you feel like doing, go for it. Be transparent, be human, be yourself. Whatever it is that's going to allow you to release any type of pent up emotions, go for it. Because the name of the game is not to hold on to anything that's going to burden or stress the system. You want to be able to allow the parasympathetic nervous system to take care of you so that the relaxation response will soothe you inside and out. Because again, whenever we're suppressing any type of stress or suffering, that's a lot of energy that we're using to either forget about it, or we think we're forgetting about it, or kept inside, bottled up. Because as we know, if we keep negative emotions bottled up, it can just really, it's going to be like a volcano. And during this time, we owe it to ourselves to be kinder to ourselves and take care of ourselves, because everybody's doing their best. And my best may not be the same as my husband's best or my children's best or your best. Everybody, as long as you feel like you're doing your best, that's all anybody could ask for.
I think what you're talking about too is capacity. And it's really true, isn't it? And you probably see that with nurses and also with people, that some people have a greater capacity for managing situations or trauma or stress or even like emergency situations, and other people are better at other situations or have less capacity. And there's an expectation, isn't there, that everyone should be able to do it a certain way, when in reality, as humans, science doesn't prove that is the case at all.
Yes. It's different. Yeah.
Everyone is different. And I love that you're talking about laugh, cry. We're releasing energy. And then I know for me, there's this idea of, well, I just got to hold it all together, right? If I just hold it all together, but it's actually the opposite. When I release those emotions, when I'm authentic, and Megan McDonough's talked about that a lot, when I'm authentic, when I let people myself feel and let people know what I'm really feeling, it actually dissipates quite quickly.
Right.
What is it, an emotion, 90 seconds or something? Yeah. And then yet if I keep it around and I think about it and I ruminate, it can build and build and build. And right. I can be like what you were talking about, the pressure cooker situation.
Yes. Yeah. We have to label our emotions. A lot of us, it depends on how we were brought up. Some of us were taught to express ourselves. Some of us were taught to just keep quiet and, serve other people, take care of other people. So some people have emotional illiteracy. They just don't know how to express themselves or how to name their emotions. And labeling our emotions actually has been found to reduce amygdala reactivity. It's enough once we could figure out what negative emotion, what am I feeling? Am I sad? Am I disappointed? Am I angry? Am I frustrated? When we could label the emotion, labeling it brings it out in the forefront. And when we say it, we're able to express it somehow. And it's enough to kind of help reduce our stress and suffering.
And your final one was savor your food.
Yeah. So savoring the food is so important because comfort eating, some people have problems with comfort eating. I'm raising my hand here because, when we're stressed, we tend to gravitate towards the food that makes us feel good. And I was hearing in the news how a lot of people are really admitting to the fact that since the social distancing, they've been eating a lot of carbs. A lot of people are gaining weight. So, if we could take the moment to just savor our food, to really taste what we have in front of us, to look at it, it might keep us from mindlessly eating larger portions or going for the next, or noticing how the food is actually making us feel. Is it making us feel bloated? Is it giving us GERD? Is it doing all these different things? So noticing how our food makes us feel, savoring it is very important.
I couldn't agree more. These seem like such practical, simple tools, but it's really true when we do these little simple micro practices, they become like micronutrients, don't they?
Yes,
And
yes.
they help mitigate some of the stress that we're experiencing and feeling. Thank you so much for joining us today on this call. I do agree that it would be fun to do laughter yoga. Everyone's going, yes, let's do it. Debbie, what are your other top strengths? I'm curious.
Oh, okay. So other top strengths, uh, love of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, appreciation of beauty,
Ah,
spirituality, and also hope.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And is there anything that you were looking forward to as Boston starts to open up that you're looking forward to trying out? And as you think about, we were talking about that a little bit, as you think about going out and expanding your boundaries, how are you staying safe as a nurse, in venturing out?
Can you repeat that? I think I lost your part of what you were asking.
Yeah, as you're thinking about going out, like Boston's opening up, and I know a lot of New York is going to be next, and there's some concern about like, how do I keep myself safe
Mhm.
and go to that favorite bagel shop or do
Yeah.
whatever is next. Or as you're thinking about, even as I was talking about earlier, family gatherings, like I have a family wedding and I just got a text from my mom saying, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to come. We're not going to be able to go to that wedding in September because we just don't feel like it's safe to travel. We're making all those decisions. Are you up against any of those kind of things, and how are you managing that?
I just want to, well, to answer your original question, what I'm looking forward to is family gathering. I mean, summer is a big time for that. And it's, especially if social distancing is still kind of a big issue, which it will be for a little bit more. Cookouts in the big backyard is a nice way to kind of meet everybody's needs, to be under one space, but still kind of different. I think that would be really amazing. We've been doing a lot of family Zoom gatherings, but it's not the same as in person.
And how are you going to do with not being able to hug people?
Oh God, that's a tough one. I'm a big hugger. I'm a big hugger. I love to hug.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm lucky because I have my husband and I have three boys. Two out of three live with me, and ever since they were little, I said to myself, I'm going to hug these boys as much as I can. So as soon as they wake up in the morning, my husband and I get hugs from these kids. During the day, I get random hugs. Before they go to bed, I'm going to bed, Mom, a hug. So it's just we can't pass each other without a hug or just like I give you a kiss. So I'm very lucky in that respect.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. That's why I love that I have dogs too. My husband and dogs. But I'm a little concerned about that, like how to stay socially distant in situations when I just haven't seen people for a long time and I just want to hold them, you know.
Yeah.
That's going to be a bit of a challenge,
Yes.
That'll be self-regulation, won't it?
And creativity too.
Yeah, yeah,
We can
that's
give
true.
ourselves hugs.
Yeah, we'll have to do it this way. I'm hugging you, or we'll be creating all kinds of new signals, I'm sure.
Do our
What?
own little tricks.
Yes, exactly. We'll have a different sign language dance. Well, thank you everybody for joining us tomorrow. I hope that you will come back. We are going to be talking more about mental health. This is Mental Health Week and the power of positive psychology to look at how we can succeed at this time, what we can do to reinvent ourselves and go forward, that requirement and what that can do. And also, if you're interested in the positive psychology course, Megan said that they're still accepting people until the end of the month, and I'm gonna do it, Debbie. I'm gonna take the course, so I'm excited about that. We'll have to talk after I'm all done after the 9 months in December. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Debbie, thank you. May you be safe, may you be well, may you be happy and cared for and loved. Take care, everyone. I'm going to unmute everybody so they can say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Great day, everyone. Stay safe
You
and
too.
well.
Stay safe.